just to start off, could you just introduce yourself to voters, especially maybe some Northwestern students who might not know a lot about the state Senate race?
Sure. How long? I have so many different kinds of introductions I can do.
Let's do maybe 2 or 3 sentences.
Oh, sure. I'm Rachel Ruttenberg. I'm running for Illinois State Senate in the 9th State Senate District. This is an open seat in Springfield. I live here in Evanston with my family for the last 10 years or so.
And tell me about why you're running for this state Senate seat.
Sure. So I have spent my professional life and really my whole career fighting for the most vulnerable people in Illinois. And I, am a mom. I'm an Evanston resident. My 2 girls go to public schools here in Evanston. And I have a master's from Northwestern, Medill. And it was actually after I graduated from Medill, from the Marketing Communications program, that I started at Chicago Public Schools. And my first job out of graduate school, I was going school to school, working to expand technology, and really understood and saw with my own eyes for the first time the deep inequities baked into our public school systems. And I wanted to do something about it. And so I actually enrolled in law school at night and began a journey to finish law school and then work in both the public sector and the nonprofit sector to really work to change systems and to really go after racial and economic disparities in the state of Illinois. And so when I understood that Laura Fine would be leaving her seat to run for Congress, and I've been spending the last 20 years, really working on policy advocacy in Springfield on some of our most complex social issues, I thought it's now or never, right? If I really want to be able to champion the issues that I've worked on all these years, I need to take a go at it and run for this seat and try to do so and be a champion from the state Senate.
Well, there's a lot to unpack there, but you did mention you got your master's from Medill, and we are the Daily Northwestern. Yeah. So tell me about what your time at Northwestern and Medill was like.
Sure. So as I shared with you guys before coming here today, I was a journalism student at the University of Wisconsin-Madison before I came to Northwestern, and then I applied for and was accepted into the Integrated Marketing Communications program at Medill. I was a little bit on the younger side. There were a lot of older students in my class, and I was a commuter student because I couldn't afford to live in Evanston or on campus. And so my time at Medill was one of extreme hard work and dedication, and really just kind of throwing myself into the studies. I also became the youngest ever editor of the Journal of Integrated Marketing Communications for that program. And so I was really focused on just learning everything I could from this wonderful university and from the students around me and the professors.
And speaking of affordability in Evanston, yeah. We've talked about you speaking with Casey and the Daily earlier in May when you first launched your campaign.
Yeah.
Obviously, that was pretty early on in your campaign, and you said you hadn't identified many specific policies to champion if elected to state Senate. So has that changed? Have you identified any key policies that you would champion or spearhead if you're elected to state Senate?
Sure. So what's interesting is that I've been involved in a lot of the work around economic and racial justice issues in Springfield for years now. And so I'm looking forward to continuing much of that work and championing it from the state Senate. That includes, honestly, the threats to democracy that we are all experiencing right now. It's interesting because you mentioned that I spoke to the Daily Northwestern, I think it was in June, or in May even. And that was one of my earlier conversations. At that point, I could not have really guessed what was going to occur with the Trump administration and ICE agents in our streets, terrorizing our neighbors, driving around our community, inciting violence in the streets of Evanston. And so since then, we really, our democracy has continued to unravel pretty quickly. And I am looking forward to being not only a champion for being able to respond appropriately, being able to secure the people of Illinois and stabilize our communities and hold Trump and the ICE agents and federal agents who are roaming our streets accountable for every single action, but also being the only Democratic female attorney in the state Senate to be able to partner with the Attorney General's office, our state agencies, and our municipalities to really pursue every avenue of accountability. So that has really been a developing situation since I last spoke with you all. I would say a very close second to that has been healthcare, and that really is the root of affordability issues. Through this campaign, I've had the privilege and pleasure of door knocking and going door to door and meeting neighbors across the 9th State Senate District. Thousands and thousands of people's homes. I've knocked on their door now and introduced myself and had a conversation with them about what's important to them. And people are really scared about the threats to democracy I just talked about, and they're also really scared about our social safety net and our healthcare system. And those concerns are about not just how we deliver healthcare, but actually the cost of it, and whether their families are going to be able to continue to afford healthcare on top of all of the other affordability issues that families face right now. And so those two things really have bubbled to the top as honestly the most important issues and the things that I am deeply concerned about and want to be a champion for in the state Senate.
And can you just tell me more? I know you've spoken about these issues that people are worried about, namely policies from the Trump administration and healthcare affordability.
Sure.
Can you tell us more about what specific steps you might take if elected to address these issues?
Sure. So you want me to talk more about the threats to democracy and the Trump administration? Is that what you're asking?
Yes.
Okay. So right now, the state and the General Assembly have put together an accountability task force to basically review all of the evidence of wrongdoing and illegal activity by ICE and federal agents in our streets, and have a central place for it to go so that we can figure out how to pursue accountability for each of those pieces of evidence. And so that means, if I'm in the state Senate, I would, be interested in continuing that work and making sure that any rights or freedoms that we need to codify in our state constitution, in our state code, that we need to do that. We're in a place where Illinois really not only is sort of central to the national conversation around what's happening, but has really strongly put a narrative out there that we will not back down and we will stand up for our neighbors and for all of our constitutional and civil rights. And so that is something I'm looking forward to doing. The Attorney General's office is also a huge part of that, and their work around working together across states to pursue legal action against the Trump administration is also something I'm hoping to be a helpful point person with in the state Senate, because we need to figure out what pieces can be litigated, what pieces can be codified, and what pieces we can pursue accountability measures through our court systems, through the task force. So this is work that I've done a little bit of when I was at Cook County. As we were leading up into the second Trump administration, we were making preparations for the types of legal and policy tools we had in our toolkit to be able to appropriately respond to basically the horrors coming to life from the pages of Project 2025.
And I also want to talk about, this race, it's two Democrats, you and Patrick Hanley right now, at least in the primary. And you seem to, at least on policies, agree for the most part.
Sure.
When it comes to affordability, healthcare, fighting against the Trump administration. So you've spoken a lot about your experience in policy, whereas he's spoken about his experience in business and set himself up as this grassroots candidate. So tell me a bit more about what sets you apart in this primary.
Yeah, I mean, I think you said it already, but absolutely my policy experience sets me apart. And the role of a state senator is working with the Illinois General Assembly, with the governor's office, and with our communities and our municipalities in a policy-making role. And so that deep public policy experience and the cross-section of experience I have both on the nonprofit side and in local and state government certainly sets me apart as a very experienced candidate for this role. We are in a time of great urgency, and we need to be able to kind of hit the ground running on some of the pieces I spoke about related to holding the Trump administration accountable, on some of the affordability and healthcare pieces. And we need somebody who knows how Springfield works and who can get things going on day one. This seat begins in January of 2027. And the 2027 budget in Springfield will be the first budget where the rug will have been pulled out from under us of federal investment into our social safety net programs. And so for the first time, folks are going to be looking at each other and wondering how we're going to make this work. How are we going to build a state budget when we've just had all this federal dollars pulled out of things for our most vulnerable community members, disability programs, programs for people who are elderly, and we'll have 300,000 people losing health care coverage in the next 9 months. So that January 2027 to May 2027 timeline, the budget has to be passed by May 31st. And so we need somebody who's going to be able to hit the ground running, understands how those processes work and all of the moving pieces to be able to make sure we have all the voices of all those impacted people at the table, that we are moving quickly, intentionally, and collaboratively, and that we are putting together the best budget and the best scenario for our communities right out the gate.
And also speaking about the race between you and Patrick Handley, you recently overtook him in fundraising just this calendar year after he's been in the lead for quite a few months. So tell me about what went into that fundraising and how you might plan to sustain that fundraising until March.
Sure. So it's been we're both first-time candidates, and it's been an interesting process to understand how fundraising for campaigns worked, as I've mostly been on the policy side, but definitely a little bit on the organizing and political side here in Evanston. The first 100,000 plus is typically your friends and family investing in you, your former colleagues, and really your neighbors. And so that, I think, both occurred for both of us. What has really been special to me before the end of the calendar year is that the Jewish Caucus PAC invested in my campaign. And that's because this is a critical seat for Jewish representation in the Illinois State Senate. And that caucus PAC is also made up of elected officials who I've partnered with and worked with on bills in the past. And they understand the moment of time that we're in and how I'll make such a great state senator. They wanted to be able to say that with their checkbook. So I'm really pleased for that investment and with those partners. And, I don't know that, I always knew that Patrick and I would each run pretty well-run campaigns. And the jockeying for money, every couple of months of who has more, you just need enough money to be able to get your message out about who you are and what you're trying to do as a candidate. And so I'm pleased in the direction that we're taking.
And the last longer question, I guess, that I wanted to ask is more specific to Northwestern.
Sure.
But as you probably know, Northwestern recently struck a deal with the Trump administration in December to unfreeze $790 million in federal funding that had been frozen due to allegations of anti-Semitism on campus. Mm-hmm. So I want to know more, what was your reaction to the deal, and what are your thoughts on everything that has unfolded between the Trump administration and Northwestern in the past few months?
Yeah. So settling for $75 million to release $790 million in my mind was absolute extortion. These are programs that I believe to be life-saving research programs, foundational core programs to so many topics that are make an impact worldwide. I mean, this is a world-class university that has its roots deep and its tentacles out to everywhere across the world. And so I was really upset that occurred. I also know that it was likely a business decision made by the administration because these are mission critical programs that people rely on all over the world. And so I absolutely abhor the way that the Trump administration has been moving and attempting to deal with universities generally. I also, as a Jewish person, I particularly abhor using anti-Semitism as an excuse for racist, misogynistic, and what I believe to be totally inappropriate use of and abuse of power of a federal government over a university. I think that that is a total twisting of the situation, and while anti-Semitism has certainly been on the rise in many communities, and Jewish people are feeling certainly targeted in many ways, I don't believe that has anything to do with the Trump administration's extortion of Northwestern. And so those are my feelings on it. I think from the state Senate side, I'm a neighbor of Northwestern. I live 3 blocks south of here, of Medill in this campus. My kids go to the Northwestern Music Academy for their piano lessons. We are an integrated part of this community with Northwestern, and Northwestern will always, in my mind, be a partner. I look forward to strengthening relationships with Northwestern, with the administration, with faculty, staff, and students, so that I can be both a resource in Springfield, but then also have an open line of communication around really distressing issues like what you all just went through with the Trump administration.
Well, those are all the longer questions that we had, but
okay.
If you're all right, if you don't have anything else to add to those for now, we can switch to some rapid fire questions. That'll be more of the lighthearted side. This first question, pretty important one.
Okay.
What did you eat for breakfast this morning?
I think I ate a second half of a gluten-free toaster waffle that my 7-year-old left on her plate.
Who is your favorite Northwestern alum?
That's a really hard one. It has some politicalness to it too. I'm gonna say Speaker Chris Welch.
And what is your favorite Evanston or 9th District business?
That's super hard, but I have a good go-to, which is that I have 2 little girls, and our absolute favorite place to go is Nice Lena and Friends on Chicago Avenue in Dempster. If you haven't been there, it's amazing. It's just a shop of wonders and cuteness. I think she calls herself the Wizard of Cute.
What is the last book you read?
How to Stand Up to a Dictator by Maria Ressa.
And finally, you've received several endorsements so far throughout your candidacy. Which endorsement that you've received are you the most proudest of?
I'm definitely the most proud of my endorsement by Majority Leader Robin Gable. She's our state representative. But more than that, she's been a friend and a mentor of mine for about 15 years. And I really admire the work that she's done in Springfield, and before that even on behalf of maternal child health issues, racial equity as it relates to maternal health and people who are pregnant and postpartum. And that's absolutely the best. When your friends and your mentors support you out the gate like that, there's nothing better.